What's going on, guys? Want to welcome you back. You want to learn not just how to play Wolverine, but how to master him. The tank-busting duelist that can turn a fight in an instant, but also just as easily throw the entire thing if you don't know what the hell you're doing. In fact, Wolverine, out of all the 35 heroes in the game currently, is probably the hardest or one of them to master, which is why today I've teamed up with the rank 1 Wolverine, the best in the business, team captain. This guy is solely responsible for turning him from the zero that we knew to the hero of today, and he's going to teach you everything you need to know. From key combos that will make you feel like a berserker ballerina to tips and tricks so secret even Logan doesn't know about it. We got hero matchups, counters, mobility, abilities, and more. Let's jump in. Who is Wolverine? With the sole purpose of disrupting enemies' front lines, Wolverine is the best in Rivals at his job, kicking Vanguard's ass. Now, his chance to shine and perform the best is when your opponent is running 2 or more tanks, or your team is reliant on one tank doing the bulk of responsibility of frontlining. With a slew of abilities that chain together perfectly, combined with a passive that quite literally snowballs him into a short king killing machine, Logan carries a huge, unique role to him and him alone. Let's talk about it. Why play Wolverine? Like, what would be your reasoning to play him?
Tanks are like the biggest carries in the game, right? Tank player is going to be the deciding factor of whether a team wins or loses. So if their tanks are an issue, which in most cases they will be, just pick Wolverine and remove them from the fight. It's that simple. Just actually bully the tank, make him suffer, and then if he swaps off tank and they don't have a tank anymore, well, they just lose the game by default. That's just the truth.
All right, first up is his main primary source of damage, Savage Claw. Wolverine's going to deal 15 damage per strike on top of 1.5% of the current target's max health, with an additional 0.045% of damage, I know, a lot of numbers, for each point of rage that is on Wolverine. More on this later. Now, a couple things, guys. This damage is on their max HP, not extra health, not shields. What they come in the game with, that original HP bar. So in simplified terms, that means he's going to deal the same damage on low health characters as he would high beefy tanks.
So when I'm using his primary fire, I'm usually just using it to build up rage. And the thing about the primary fire is you're doing no damage really when you're building up your rage. But once you hit max rage, that's when you're doing max damage. So I'm just constantly trying to build that up. And then once I get it built up, that's when I'm being aggressive. I'm not being aggressive before that. I'm making sure I got it built up, and then I'm going. There is cleave with it, but I usually mostly use it for single target damage. It's going to be very rare that you actually do get that cleave.
All right, next up is Vicious Rampage. This is Wolverine's X attack, and it's the ability you're going to be using by far the most with the iconic X-Men. It's his mobility, his closer, his extra damage, and it comes with an extremely short cooldown of 3 seconds, so don't be afraid to use this. Vicious Rampage can go a max distance of 7.5 meters and is the key instrument of damage and loads of his combos.
So a thing that you want to be doing with Wolverine is that a lot of people will be trying to shoot you. You want to be unpredictable, so you can use Vicious Rampage to dash up, you can use it to dash to the side, you can use it to dodge so many things. And you want to be always using it to find cover. Wolverine in the open is dead, right? You want to be trying to find as much cover as possible while you're taking space, while you're trying to find that opportunity to grab. You want to always be using Vicious Rampage off cooldown. 3-second cooldown, that's probably one of the shortest cooldowns in the game. There's literally no point in not using this ability as much as possible. You want to utilize it. It's one of your biggest tools for mobility. So always be using this dash. Try and find your target, trying to get space, trying to get into a position where you can grab their tank, but you can also use it to speed up your swing time. So when you don't have the attack speed bonus from the Feral Leap, you'll notice on your base attack that there's actually a swing downtime where there's massive delay in between your attacks. Something that you can do to increase your DPS and actually like stop that delay from happening is once that delay hits, you use the Vicious Rampage and then you instantly get the swing back, so it increases your DPS by a lot, and this will get tanks killed. Like, I've gotten so many tank players killed just from doing that tech alone. Very important tech.
Now, moving right along, guys. Feral Leap is the probably most iconic piece of Wolverine's kit. Even if you've never played him, you've seen Wolverine fly across the map and kidnap somebody, take him back to your team, and then deliver a barrage of slicing and dicing to nuke down their health. Now, Wolverine's Feral Leap grabs an enemy, dealing 35 damage on the initial grab, and then smashes them to the ground, dealing an additional 35 damage. At which point, he's going to gain access to his Berserker Claw. It's similar to the primary, but it goes way faster, even though it deals slightly less damage per strike and percentage-based health. This is his main tool to shred certain characters.
So different things you can do with Feral Leap is that you can like throw them off the map, you can bring them into your team. It's a hard stun, so you can use it to cancel a lot of ultimate / abilities, and you want to be using it as mainly a displacement tool. So you want to be taking tanks most of the time out of the LOS of their friendly supports, so the tanks can't be healed up and you just absolutely shred them around the corner. The thing with the Feral Leap is though, is that a lot of people don't really understand how to get the grab consistently. The start up of the Feral Leap is super vertical in height, so you can't really get it at mid range. You can only really get it at short to long range, and on the long range it's super hard to catch them on the downwards trajectory. You want to be using it when you're really close to an enemy, and the thing you can do for that is the right click. You can use that to engage, get really close to them. Another thing with the leap that a lot of people don't know, that if you're actually having your back to someone on Wolverine, you can actually grab them from behind. For some reason, it might be intentional, the legs actually count for the hitbox of the grab and they'll pull the person in. I haven't really used that in a lot of cases, but there is a couple cases where I've grabbed someone that I didn't intend to grab, so it's something to think about. I'd say the easiest way to aim it, this is the thing that I do, I usually use my right click dash and I kind of aim down at the character's torso / legs, and that gives me, if I miss the person, then I'm not overshooting them, so I'm still kind of close to them. And when I do that, I usually get an easy grab off that. So once you're up really close to them and you want to be like basically hugging them, you get an easy grab. So when you're doing more intermediate grabs, and this will happen a lot, so if you're sitting at like a choke point, I think you can do is if you dash into them, the right click, you can actually lunge them back around to your team. So what you want to be doing for that is as soon as you dash in front of them and you hit them with the dash, as soon as you click the lunge button, you want to flick yourself around to your camera, and then you'll start bringing them towards you because you'll use that momentum backwards instead of forwards. Very important with the leap, very, very important, is that you never ever want to be taking the enemy towards their own team, always towards your own team, you know? I think it's probably one of the most lethal things in the game if you can master the wedge slam, as I like to call it. So if you catch them on the ledge of any cliff, and the thing with these cliffs is the kill box is super high, so when you hit someone off a leap, they get stunned for a second, so even characters with mobility, they don't have time to react and they'll still get killed by the environment. One thing you can do is you can send a message and you can just throw yourself into the pit with them and just do a glorious death, kill yourself and kill them in the process, you know? But if you're removing a full tank from the fight and you throw yourself off the map, I'd say it's still worth the trade. So even if you're still, you know, sacrificing your life for your team, sometimes it's actually a valuable kill. Another thing to note with Feral Leap is even if you miss it, you still get an attack speed bonus off the end of Feral Leap, so it's not like you're getting zero value if you try and be aggressive. A lot of the time when I miss a tank, it can happen sometimes, you can still go up to the tank and deal a lot of damage to them, you know?
Now next up we have Undying Animal, which is essentially like a passive, but an ability that you can activate to gain 40% less damage over the course of 5 seconds. Now this can be used to survive defensively, but way more often used offensively to stay alive when dealing his incredible amount of barrage damage. This is probably the #1 ability people use at the wrong time, wrong place. Team Captain has more to share.
So if I'm going for a really, really aggressive leap, and I'll be usually doing this on their tank, the thing to note is that when you're going for a tank, right, you're putting yourself within the enemy front line. So that means everyone is going to be looking at you once you engage. You want to be popping your E as you're going for this grab, because it's going to be reducing that damage by 40% now, and that's going to save you in a lot of cases, which means that you can easily grab them and then get out while taking a lot of poke damage. But another thing you can do is if you're using the E you can actually take fights with squishies a lot more. So if you're fighting a Hela or a Hawkeye or something like that, you can use the E to actually take the matchup a lot easier, and you can actually become way more tanky. It's especially good against melee DPS, because if they're trying to fight you, they'll probably have the better matchup, but if you press your E, it can easily even the matchup in your favour. I don't really use it against ultimates, funnily enough. The only time I'd use it against an ultimate is if I know like a Strange is going to hard stun me and I know that I can't do anything, there's nothing within my power that I can do. So I just pop it as soon as I can, so then I'm taking less damage from the stun. But that's usually because you made a mistake.
Pretty simple kit by design, but let's talk about those passives and then finally his ultimate. Now, before we move on quickly, just want to say, if you guys haven't already, only 10% of you guys are subscribed. I know I'm screwing up the video. I'm sorry. I'm gonna see myself out. But if you could do that, that'd be great. Okay, bye. Now, the first ability is probably the most important thing to understand if you want to master this character. Wolverine's most important piece of his kit, his rage meter, practically goes up with anything that Logan does. This will give him rage to use for his other abilities to do more damage, heal more, or survive a little bit better. Now, this rage is obviously identified big in the middle of Wolverine's screen. And when I do mean anything, I truly mean anything. First up, by just being hit from the enemy team, which you will be a lot, you get 3 rage, but you'll also get it by using your abilities. You'll be getting 7 rage per Savage Claw hit. You'll be getting 20 per Vicious Rampage hit, alongside another 20 for the Feral Leap Snatch. When coming out of Feral Leap and getting Berserker Claw, you'll be getting 7 per hit, which is a lot. And then, of course, you'll be getting some rage from his ultimate.
So how it works is, your rage is never going to go down as long as you're dealing damage or taking damage. But a thing that you can do to keep your rage up is enemy destructibles / enemy objects such as group walls, penny mines, Namor turrets, Loki clones, etc. You can use that to actually keep your rage up. So basically, if I'm playing against a group, which is one of the best matchups for Wolverine, and one of the reasons for that is you can literally swing on the walls and just keep your rage up. And you don't have to break the wall straight away. As long as you're just swinging on it every now and again, you're always going to be at 100 rage and ready to engage on them with max damage. Yeah, you want to be trying to maximize your uptime as much as possible, and you want to be thinking about how you can make your engagements as lethal. The thing that's hard about Wolverine is getting value outside of the lunge, and that's what a lot of different players struggle with, is getting value outside of his lunge ability, which is of course his most powerful ability in his kit.
Now, his last passive, Regenerative Healing Factor, is essentially his second life. Now, unlike Berserker Rage that is kind of always active, this is going to have a hefty cooldown when triggered of almost 1.5 minutes. However, with each and every assist or KO that you get, it's going to reduce 10 seconds off this total 90-second cooldown. And essentially how this works is, once your health reaches 0, you're going to get a one-time huge hit of bonus health that'll range from 150 to 300. Now, the meat of this health comes from your rage. It's going to take it down to 0 and pretty much have a conversion of whatever rage you have into direct health. Now, with this passive, guys, you get this bonus health, but once that main health hits, that's when you got to get out of there. Once that rage goes down to 0, your job is done, and it's going to act as a nice little shield to give you some escapability. And of course, when you have the passive active, you can be a bit more aggressive than when you don't.
When you're at 100 rage and they activate the passive, you'll still have that 100 rage until it transfers into your HP. So you use that damage while you can, use that second life moment, and then you want to get out as it's ending, because you will actually be pretty much useless to your team. So a thing that people don't know, and this is crazy, right? This is actually insane tech. If your team lose the fight and the enemy are about to kill you, a thing that you can do to save your passive and just respawn with your team is you can just jump off the map. If you jump off the map, it doesn't use your passive. It doesn't count.
And then last but not least, guys, we've got his ultimate, the Last Stand, right? His Berserker Rage. And this ability can go from quite literally winning the biggest stake tournaments in Marvel Rivals to being pretty useless depending on how you use it. So the way this thing works, guys, is a lot of damage from a ton of different metrics. First of all, you get 50 damage just for activating that ability, followed by a 20 damage per second as you travel to your distance to slam the target into the ground, or you slam down into the ground. That impact is going to deal 50 more damage, and then you'll deal 10% of the target's max health with an extra 0.3% damage for each rage point on Wolverine. In addition, the target is knocked down for a full second, so you can see quickly how this can lead to an entire team KO.
I used the ultimate first and foremost to grab the tank on the startup. On the startup of the ultimate, I bring the tank into the air, and then I try and mark their backline with the circle, and then bring the tank towards their backline, so I can start doing cleave damage to everyone in the ult. So the ult is a hard stun on the startup, so whoever you're bringing into the air, they're stunned. And then when you're bringing them towards their team and you hit the team, you need to be direct with this, otherwise you just splash damage. But when you hit their team, they also get hard stunned at the end. So that means that they can't react with defensive ultimates, with defensive abilities. They just die if you get them on that. So it's very important that you're using your ultimate when you're at max rage. And it's very important that you're trying to catch as many people as possible in that stun. So you need to be accurate. It can be really buggy. Also, like the marker, when you're trying to place it down, I've had moments where I'm like spamming my mouse button and it just doesn't want to like lunge forward to take people away. Also, sometimes it doesn't catch people. The people that I grab on the way up, sometimes it doesn't catch them when I'm going towards like the enemy backline. So it can be kind of weird at times. There is ways to make it not happen, work in your best. Let the full animation play when you're bringing them up, ideally. Sometimes if you click it too fast, they go up and you just go away from them. So you want to let yourself go up fully. And then another thing you want to do is you want to mark towards where they're floating. Otherwise you might not catch them. Quite important to do that. Cool thing with the ultimate is that you're actually dealing damage in the travel time of the ultimate. So as you're traveling, you're doing damage the full way through the travel time. You could be increasing your DPS and it makes them way easier to kill at the end of the slam. So a cool thing with the ultimate is that it can actually cancel ultimate abilities. So things like Doctor Strange. If I don't have my Feral Leap, I'll just use my ultimate to cancel it. The thing with ultimates is, right, there's different kinds of ultimates. So there's like transformation ultimates. Those you can't really cancel, such as like Magic, Punisher. Those are transformations, so once they activate it, they're like that, right? But there's other ultimates where it's like Doctor Strange, Loki, where in the activation process, where they're building it up, you can actually hard cancel it. It will give them 50% of the ult charge back, but it's a net positive if you cancel it, right? And you can save your team. It's immediate. As soon as you press the button, it's cancelled. And it's not hard to do, like anyone can do that. You don't have to be the best at anything. You just got to press that button, man, and then he's not getting his ultimate, you know? Another important thing to know about the ultimate is that you're actually CC immune. So with people in this game, or with heroes in this game, CC immunity, you're indicated when your health bar has a little yellow outline. And Wolverine has this on his ultimate. So when you're using his ultimate, you're actually CC immune, which means that all stuns and everything that will boop you, knock you around, they won't affect you. So if you see a Mantis use their sleep, a Luna use their freeze, a Strange uses ult, it's good to press this button so you actually immune it and you get away from it and you completely tank the stun.
Alright, so how do we not talk about Metal Cannonball, right? The fastball special. Is this a gimmick? Is this a good ability, Team Captain? What do you think?
I feel like you need your Hulk to kind of have a clue of what he's doing. And what you need the Hulk to be doing really is like throwing you as high as possible. Because I feel like the throw is kind of jank at times where you actually can't control yourself in the air sometimes. And then other times you can. So it's kind of like 50-50 whether it wants to work properly or it wants to bug out.
Now to quickly give you guys some advice from myself after editing this video and taking all the advice into consideration, I decided to put it to the test. I didn't play Wolverine before A, making this guide, or B, talking to Team Captain. And just from what I've learned from him and then also his playstyle, and really being that, you know, hunting your prey type of character and perfecting the small things, I was able to solo queue with Wolverine from gold all the way up to nearly Grandmaster just by playing him. He gets banned a good amount nowadays in the higher ranks, but kind of just proof to show that this stuff does work. He takes a little bit of time to learn the mechanics, and really learning the cooldowns is probably the biggest thing that I can recommend playing with your team. But really things started to click for me, and like I was able to be the MVP on almost every game that I was playing with them. was getting the most value out of him. Like he has said, out of that feral leap. I mean, from the ultimate to just making sure that I don't feed. There's a lot of things that go into it, but I am team low gang now. Matchups, right? Wolverine obviously is good against tanks, but let's talk about every tank specifically and who Wolverine's going to do the best against, and then some non-tanks that maybe he might struggle against and or perform well against.
So the best tanks that you go against are easily Strange, Groot, and then I would say Penny Parker. And the reason for this is that they don't have a lot of defensive capabilities against your damage. So Strange, he has a shield, but that defends against projectiles, and he also has his flight. But the thing is, once Strange uses his flight, it's a very, very hefty cooldown. So that means very susceptible to being grabbed by Wolverine. And you can also grab him mid-flight is the thing. Once you do that, he has zero escape plans or anything unless his team hard peel for him. So Strange, super easy to kill with the leap. And the thing is, he also has a low HP pool, so that also makes him a lot easier to kill than other tanks. Groot, of course, easy to kill because of the fact that he has zero mobility options other than placing his will beneath his feet. And that does not help him get away, because there's no horizontal advantage to that. It's only vertical. So if you grab a Groot into your team, Groot is dead, guaranteed. The only thing that Groot can really do is try and like place a react wall that will block your leap. But you can also react to that and kind of swerve it, so it's not really that good in my opinion. And then Penny Parker, she gets a lot of value from standing in her nest. A lot of Penny players would just be kind of standing around the nest. You can take her out the nest. You can just grab her and take her out that nest, and she's dead. As soon as she's in the middle of your team, she's dead. The only thing she can do is try and web zip away, but usually by the time she does that, she's just actually exploded on the spot. Thor, Captain America, and Magneto, you actually have a harder time killing them. So with Thor, when Thor uses his right click, he's generating shields off his Thor force. This will make it a lot harder to actually kill him fast, because he's constantly giving himself HP every time he presses cooldown. And the thing is, he can actually use that shift to bring you towards his team. So you need to be really, really careful that you don't get caught out like that. But there's a thing to note with Thor. If he presses his F ability, which is his Awakened Rune State, I think it's called. When he presses that, he uses all 3 of his runes, which means that he doesn't have any abilities to press. It means he can't be generating shields. So towards the end of that ability, you grab him, he's actually a super, super easy kill, because he's on cooldown for all of his abilities and he can't escape. With Captain America, although I think he's one of the weaker tanks at the moment, I will say, but he actually has a super good matchup against Wolverine. Not that he hard counters Wolverine or it gives Wolverine a tough time. You just really can't do anything against him, really. If you grab him in, he can just jump away, dash out, get away. And on top of that, his shield can actually block your damage, unlike Magneto's shield and Doctor Strange's shield. So he can actually fully block your damage as he's backing away. Magneto, his bubble is really good against you, because your damage, I believe, doesn't actually work against Magneto bubbles for percentage damage. I think his bubbles actually just fully block all the damage you do. So if you're getting zero help of your team, it's actually best to just back off from the Magneto if he uses his bubble. So you won't really be doing much against him. And if he uses his bubble reactively to stop your grab, then he can completely negate it. Biggest counter is Namor. I'm just going to say that straight away. Namor, his ice turret gives you a 30% slow now. If Namor's hitting you with that ice turret, you can't really follow people very well, and you can't actually keep up with the target that you're chasing. Any characters that have hard stuns, you need to keep in mind. Mantis being the biggest one on the support backline. If Mantis throws her sleep down, you're getting hit by that sleep every time, unless the Mantis loses their eyesight mid-throw. I'll tell you something really cool about Luna Snow, right? On the animation build-up for her snowball ability, where she stuns you, you can actually see it really easily, is you can actually reactively dash up. Jeff the Shark, if he uses his bubbles, he can actually pop them and then cancel your movement. Funnily enough. All
right, guys, there you go. That's everything you possibly could need to know about Wolverine. Now it's up to you to go out there and put the reps in to perfect this guide. And let me know down below in the comments which character we should do a mastery guide on next. I take that into high consideration. Got Loki and a couple of other ones working on at the moment, but looking forward to get more out there. Good luck out there, and until the next one, happy rivaling.